Welcome to K2's Personally Speaking podcast, a series that shines a light inside a highly successful global mobility organization with human centricity at the heart of everything. Each episode takes a look inside K2 and toward the people behind the business, the brand, and the success of the Because It's Personal ethos. Global Marketing Director James Marshall is joined on each episode by colleagues from around the globe to discuss their role, their background, special projects, and to find out what they bring to deliver a truly unique service to clients, relocating families, and business service partners.
Hello and welcome to episode 10 of Personally Speaking. We're here today in Wisley.
We are.
With Linda Rafferty.
Hello.
Who is our Head of Compliance and ESG.
Correct.
Did I get it right?
You did, well done. For once you remembered the ESG bit, well done. Nailed it.
We've got you today because we have just released our 2024 sustainability report, our third one.
Mm-hmm. It is.
And we thought no better way to celebrate talking about the report and everything that we're doing for sustainability, history of sustainability at K2 and why we do what we do for greater good for the business, for our clients, our partners as well, than to come here to Wisley. It probably on camera looks like it's a lot warmer than it is.
It's freezing.
So this might be quite a short podcast. So Linda, you started life at K2 how long ago?
13 years ago.
13 years ago. Your journey at K2 did not start with sustainability. In fact, I would hazard a guess that 13 years ago, sustainability wasn't really on the agenda for many businesses.
No, it wasn't. I actually started out working in finance and we quickly realised that really wasn't a path for me. Didn't take long. No.
We shouldn't say that though, because there's quite a lot of data gathering and number crunching involved in sustainability, and so we can understand sort of the evidence and the data and the science behind it, right? So, but you've got a team that does that.
I've got a team that does that.
I'm going to talk about a few of them.
Yeah.
There's a couple of companies actually that help us, a couple of partners. So you started in finance. When did you move over to sustainability?
Okay.
And what was your real attraction to sort of owning that? Because you really do own that for us as a business on a global scale.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I was doing HR for years, and everyone knows the story about how then I started to move in. Phil wanted me to start looking at, as the company was growing, making the company more compliant. So the journey was really sort of like HR into compliance, and then from compliance, in 2015, whilst we weren't looking at environmental things 13 years ago, we started our environmental journey really right back in 2015.
So we were quite early adopters.
Yeah. So, we got our ISOs in 2015 for 14001, which is how, we were looking at what we were doing internally, and we always knew, we didn't know how then, but we always knew we needed to have that spread through our supply chain too.
I'm going off on a tangent a little bit, but you just said 14,001, and it's fascinating because even now, so there's a generation coming through. My son is doing A-levels at the moment, and I told him that I was coming here today and what we were talking about. And he says, ISO 14,000. And I went, one more. Yeah. But even an 18-year-old, they're learning about this stuff at school, and there's this cultural awareness that's far greater than it ever was when I was younger and you were younger, right? So.
All right, I mentioned my age younger. All right.
So going back a few years, early adopters.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And as I said, we had 9,000, which is quality and environmental. Right back then, we knew that, and we knew that it had to. That was what we looked at internally, but we know that the impact of what we do as an industry was far greater. So we looked at, and that helped us implement those kind of principles, and then gave us a way of looking at the business more broader, in a more broader sense, to then look at how we change and how we start to work with our supply chain.
Well, I said at the beginning, we've just released our third annual report.
Yeah.
So there's quite a chasm of time between when we really started. It takes, to get that understanding and to get that level of sort of reporting infrastructure authority around it to actually be able to say, now we can report on it.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely. But then if you think about how much the world changed, since 2015 to now, and how much people have learned and understood. And I always say, like, everyone loves to use the term that, like, sustainability is a journey, but I see it more as a voyage, because like, journey kind of like says like a peaceful, tranquil stroll through something, to end where you're going. But a voyage is kind of something, you can hit rough seas, and it's more tempestuous. And that's one of the things that we know about sustainability is, we started and we've changed, and the voyage has changed as we've gone along.
Well, a journey as well for me has a destination, and there is no end point. It's constantly evolving.
It's constantly evolving, and will always change. Reporting requirements will always change. We found it since where we started. So our requirements will change, and regulations will change. So it will never be, here you go, we've delivered. Sorted. That's me done. I'm out. It will never be that.
So we've got a couple of partners I mentioned at the beginning in our sort of sustainability ESG world. One of them that I wanted to talk about is a more recent partnership with a company called Further.
Yep.
And they're helping us work towards some of our goals and some of our sort of notable achievements.
Yeah.
What is their experience, and how are they helping you and the team and more broadly the business?
Yeah.
And I think are they UK based?
They are UK based, yeah.
But they're helping us on a global scale.
They are, yeah.
So how are they helping us?
Okay, so they're in simple terms, they measure a carbon footprint, but there's so much more than that. So when we started talking to them, we were already dealing with a business to help us measure our carbon footprint, but we were still quite new in the journey then, so we didn't kind of know what else we could do with it. So once we started chatting further, we realised that they had so much more to offer, and they're actually helping us not just do our carbon footprint. They're helping us link with clients so that we can expand our reporting. And we can talk about that a little bit further, a bit later.
I've got a couple of questions.
I know, I thought you might have.
Yeah.
And they're also helping us, either they understand sustainability and the regulations and the requirements around it, the expertise that they have in their business. Unbelievable. It blows my mind. So I feel really thrilled that we're linked with them, because they can help us so much more with building a transition plan to help us, because we've set science-based targets.
Yep.
And in order to meet those science-based targets, we've got targets that we have to achieve around our scope emissions by 2030 and 2050, and they'll help us to build reductions in our emissions to help us reach the targets
to achieve those. So I'm really interested. Obviously, the team and I, we do a lot of work client side and for our partners, and obviously internally within the business as well from a culture perspective. But I'm really keen to understand. I know that Further we are able to, as a business, our colleagues are able to monitor their carbon footprint or their everything that's involved in that with their commuter work and so on and so forth. I'm fascinated. We're in the business of moving people around the world, right?
Yep. Which is impactful.
Yeah. Is there a shift for clients to really make that sort of that monitoring of carbon footprint an important part of their
absolutely
their mobility program?
Yeah. Well, if you think the reporting that we have to do, they have to do too.
Yeah.
So they want to know what's the impact of the services that they have with K2.
Yeah, sure.
So that is something that we've developed with Further. So for each one of our clients, we can tell them the impact of each one of the services that they have. It started with household goods, but it was because that's the easiest one for us to measure, and the most amount of information that we've got.
I guess because it's big moves.
Yeah.
Fairly straightforward to.
Yeah, and historically we kind of focus on that one, so there's more information, more measurements, but we're expanding it as we go along. The program is being developed further. Appropriate. And
It's like they knew.
yeah, so yeah, and so this year we've been able to we can start to tell our clients and start providing our clients with a report about the service that they've had with K2 and what the impact of those. So it makes their reporting better for them.
Yeah, evidence-based.
Of course.
And is it still high on the agenda? Have you noticed an increase, a decrease? Is it leveling out from a how important sustainability is for our client base?
For everybody, sustainability will always be for everybody, sustainability will always be important.
You've got this.
I don't know why my teeth wouldn't work, but for everybody, it would always be. But sometimes it's depends where in the world people are based as to how important it actually is. But regulations are only ever going to get stronger. As the world starts to get closer and closer to the deadlines that the UN set around 2030, the reporting's only going to ever increase.
Yeah.
So it should be high on everyone's agenda. Again.
So next year's report will be that thick.
Well, we're trying.
We don't know how thick it is because we don't print it.
No, we don't.
We don't print it.
But the amount of reporting that we have to do will only increase. But it does depend on where in the world people are based as to where the focus is. People are based in Europe or in the UK. It's very high on the agenda, and elsewhere it can be a little bit lower. But people always want to know, and it's always.
We deal with a lot of global companies as well, right? So that nuance for them. Internally, must be quite a wrangle as well.
Yeah.
I imagine.
Yeah.
One side is really, really important to one side maybe less so.
Yeah, but depending where the company is based, they're always going to have to meet those regulations too, depending where they operate out of.
We've talked a lot about sustainability on a global stage. We're obviously in the UK, even though it might look it, but it certainly doesn't feel it today. We talk a lot about the University of Bath in the work that they're doing with you and the team. I'm always conscious that in the UK we're obviously very well aware of the University of Bath because it's a very big university in Bath. But I'm always conscious that clients, partners outside of the UK may not be as familiar with them as a university. But I think I'm probably wrong with that, because I think they have got quite a big presence globally and are well noted as experts in their field. I'm really keen for everyone to understand a little bit more about what we do with the University of Bath.
Okay, so we've got two programs with the University of Bath. We've got one with a PhD student. She's based at Bath all the time. She works closely with the team, but she's based there, and she's looking at life cycle analysis. So from start to the end of service delivery, mainly focused on household goods, but from the start and the end. So what happens at the start, what that service looks like, what the impact of that is, and what happens at the end of that service delivery. So, and obviously that goes hand in hand with our plastic reductions program as well. And she's also, so that's one element that she's working on, but she's also looking at the materials that we use and the impact of those materials.
And that's the packing materials that we
absolutely,
use on our shipments.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Her elements is more geared towards the household goods side.
Yeah.
So obviously, because that's the as far as we're concerned, the most impactful. And so she's looking at packaging, and
I guess that changes depending on where you are around the world.
Of course, yeah. Obviously we recommend, we want to reduce plastics, and we haven't got to look at our sustainability report to see the reporting that we've done around that. But also, we're looking to recommend different materials. So we're also some of our partners are going to be, she's going to be contacting some of our partners to get them to share with her so she can do analysis. She's going to do some lab research into the materials that they're going to be using, so that the measurements and the reporting that she does as part of that life cycle analysis takes that into account as well. And then she's also, once she started to understand. Oh yeah, I know, exactly. It's a huge project, right? And she's also started to look at aviation fuel, and she's looking at our So she's looking at our road shipments, and she's looking at our air shipments, and she'll be looking at our sea shipments, and trying to get measurements around the fuels that
I guess those industry, like I'm familiar with some of the work that has happened with the aviation industry. I'm guessing that with regard to road shipments and sea shipments as well, there's similar sort of moves towards a more sustainable.
But you'll be surprised. You'll be so surprised at some of the innovation that some of our partners have showed, and she's going to be reaching out to some of them, and the supply chain team are recording anything that our partners share with them that they're doing as part of their own sustainability voyage. They're sharing with them, and they're making sure that they record it so that that we can share it with the University of Bath, and we can also share it with
because they're wider research gains from this as well, right? Yeah, of course.
So that's the one element that we're working on. And then the other thing, we have a KTP, and that is Kushi, who works in the office with us, and she's a behavioural scientist. I mean, the poor thing, being a behavioural scientist and put in my team.
She's got a lot of work to do.
And so she's with us, and she's looking at nudge theory, and I find it fascinating. We sit down and we have meetings, and she does catch-ups with me, but all the different areas of nudges that will, a nudge is something that you use to get people to change their behaviours.
Over a period of time.
Yeah. It can be over a period of time, or it can be something when you want them to change quickly, you use a stronger kind of nudge. But she is using applying nudge theory to how we can ask our partners to engage more in the program. So that's something that she's developing, and she's done so many studies, and
we can see actually from the report that's just come out that our partners engaging with that has increased. By quite some way, actually.
And if you think about all the communication, the supply chain team are so engaged in our program, and we work so closely with them, and they've increased that engagement because they've gone out to more people. We've got people are taking it on themselves and coming in and sharing what they're working on. So it's incredible.
So we've just released our sustainability report, our 2024 report. It's available online. We don't print it. 12 months time or 11 months time, we release our 2025 report.
Thanks, James. I'm just getting over this one.
What are we going to hope to see as what we've achieved in the 12 months from 24 to 25?
Okay, so we'll have developed a transition plan, so to help us to achieve our science-based targets that we've got set. So we'll have our transition plan developed, and we'll be talking about that. You'll see further engagement. Further are going to work with me and all our partners to get them more engaged and to help them with their measurements too, so that we can increase our reporting. You'll have more reporting for our clients on the services that they use, and we'll expand.
Continuing with the detail.
Absolutely. And of course, as it happens every year, we'll do our reporting to the UNGC. So we'll have our COP report that will have gone out for this year. We'll have our CDP assessment that we would have done for this year, and we'll also have done our EcoVadis rating again for this year. So we have our continuous.
They're all our benchmarks.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll have our ISOs that we would have done for the offices that are due to be audited this year. plus the UK. We've already completed the US for this year. So, the whole year is taken up going from our next pillar of reporting to the next. So, but, if we focus on the report itself, it will increase our the measurements that we're doing. We've got meetings scheduled for how we can improve the reporting that we produce ourselves. It's always about the quality of the data that we can gather that can improve our reporting again. So
that's it. Have a look at the sustainability report. I'm sure if you've got any questions on it, reach out to Linda on LinkedIn.
Yep, absolutely.
And I'm sure she can answer any of the questions that you've got. In the meantime, thank you, Linda.
I loved it. Thanks very much. Thanks for having me.
We should go and get some jackets and get warm. I think.
Really good.